Today on the Game Marks podcast, we're going all the way back to 2002 and the original Xbox when we play WWE Raw. How does this first wrestling game for the original Xbox hold up? And are we going to play it forever? Woo! Or future endeavor? You're fired! Plug in, put on those nostalgia goggles because this week's Game Marks podcast starts now.
And now, the Game Marks!
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast. My name is Johnny Clash, and this might be the last episode ever because hell has frozen over.
Shouldn't I also supposed to do like a dark and broody intro like that? Because I could be like, and I'm George Feast. And this week, I'm Batman.
You can do whatever
and
you
we're
like.
also playing WWE Raw for the Xbox.
And as always, we love to hear from you guys, so please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and make sure to subscribe and rate this podcast wherever you choose to listen and join the conversation on social media at Game Marks Pod.
John.
It's happened.
I know, it's a big day, man.
Fire Pro Wrestling World is on my hard drive. And I finally won a match, too.
I'm at a loss for words, man. So last week, we play Super Fire Pro Wrestling All-Star Dream Slam. We'll get into that in a little bit. Then this week, you buy Fire Pro World, and you downloaded yourself or made yourself and played as yourself. What's happening?
Yeah, I made myself, and I beat Hulk Hogan for the IWGP title, so...
That whole sentence was a lot to process.
But... yeah, I don't know. I saw that it was only $15, which is a significant discount for the game. And you've been urging me to give it a go. The world has been telling me that I'm not a wrestling game fan if I haven't played it, which is a really stupid statement to make. But I downloaded it. And I also downloaded pretty much the entire AEW, WWE Impact roster, and then realized that I needed more DLC to buy to actually play as those wrestlers, and I'm just not going to do that.
So there's a lot of DLC for the Fire Pro series as a whole. As long as there's been DLC, they've had it. I personally only bought the New Japan pack for Fire Pro World, so I mean, one cool feature that I thoroughly like about Fire Pro World, and I don't know if you've done this yet. Did you know that you can use your own music?
Yes, I saw that in the menu screen.
You know, you can do a little play my music.
I can
on your hard drive, and then you every time you win.
The only thing I downloaded was the Junior Heavyweight DLC, but what's it called? Fight World, Road to Fight, whatever the hell, Fight Road.
I know what you're talking about.
It was a little too wordy for me. It was just a lot of text that I had to scroll through before I actually fought Kushida, and then I lost. So that's where I called it.
Baby steps.
I don't know. I'm not saying I like it yet. I definitely see how the game is addicting, how you could create wrestlers and download wrestlers. I sat there for like an hour just downloading people. But gameplay, I'm still not completely sold. I do have the grapple timing down, so that's a big step.
That's the hardest thing. Yeah. Often that's the hardest thing for people to get. So are you referring to Fighting Road Champion Road Beyond? Is that the DLC that you're...
No, I got the Junior Heavyweight one with...
No, that's the one that you said that
Liger.
was too long, so you didn't download?
No, I downloaded the Junior Heavyweight DLC, Fighting Road.
Okay,
the one with Liger on
there's
it.
Yeah. Then there's the other one that's Beyond, which is like the after more story.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. But anyway, like you said last week, we played Super Fire Pro Wrestling All-Star Dream Slam, and I am still keeping my rating of future endeavor.
Yeah, me too. No backsies.
Now, here's something I wanted to get your opinion on. So I popped into the Major Wrestling Figure podcast this week, and I explained about the SRAM batteries on certain N64 games. And then I got people going, that dude didn't know what he was talking about. All the game No Mercy had batteries, blah, blah, blah. Yes, but I was talking about the 12 games that have the SRAM batteries that have the 10 to 12-ish year lifespan that just completely die, that you have to replace. But I know you know more about this than I do, so if you care to elaborate, please.
So I don't want to spend a ton of time on it just because this has been covered ad nauseum on the internet. But pretty much, as long as you have a cartridge for a system that has an internal save function. So we're going all the way back to the regular classic Game Boy and Tetris. As long as you have a save function, you have a battery. And depending on the size of that cartridge, the draw from the battery can last anywhere from 15 years to 75 years. It all depends on the quality of the cartridge itself, how it was cared for, how often it's been played, and then, if it's something that's just sitting in storage, yeah, the battery probably is going to be fine as long as it wasn't stored in a overly hot or overly cold place. The battery tends to last. Like, I can most likely put in my original Tetris cartridge and play it. This is a huge reason why the advent of memory cards and internal storage with hard drives was brought up. Not only because it was the next logical step based on the technology that had come out, but because, the people that developed these cartridges knew that there was a lifespan. You don't get into something to half-ass it. You make something, you expect it to be timeless. So they knew that there was a battery. They knew that the batteries had issues. I mean, when the games were released, there were also battery issues that, cartridges had to be replaced and opened up and batteries needed to be swapped. So this isn't something groundbreaking. Like I said, it's covered ad nauseum on the internet. Do yourself a Google. If you have a cartridge that's specifically not working for a system, Google it. There's tons of people. Reddit is an amazing source to get any kind of information. 10 years ago was when I figured out that I had one of the glitched cartridges of No Mercy. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that that's just, shit luck of the draw. I was a kid. I was unaware that this happened. I just thought that I had a buggy cartridge, and I didn't know that they did the whole, send in your copy and get a new one that's not bugged until, many years later. But do yourself a Google, do yourself a service, educate yourself. But that's really all I'm going to say about it.
That's it. See, I was explaining about the 12 original N64 games that had the SRAM battery, so I only included Revenge and WrestleMania 2000, and I don't know. I guess I was crucified for that, but keyword SRAM battery. But yeah,
some people will hear what they want to hear, and some people won't listen to all the details. But
either way, we were just here to correct Mark because he said there was a 70-year lifespan on the games, and no, we haven't been around long enough to know. Depending
on some of the games, based on the battery, it could be true. But, there's a lot of factors. Everyone's cartridge is going to be different.
All right. And up next, how about we go into some gaming news with all that?
Let's do it.
Are you looking to get a better grip on life? How about your video games? Well, VGF Gamers are the largest silicone gaming brand in the USA. They have a variety of different and unique skins for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One controllers and consoles. Check out their products at VGFgamers.com and use code GameMarks to receive 15% off your order at checkout. That's GAMEMARKS at checkout. VGF Gamers. Better grip, better style.
Some bad news for Call of Duty fans. At this moment, it is now June of 2020, and Activision still hasn't revealed the next Call of Duty game that claims to be on track for later this year. This is the deepest we've gone into a year without a Call of Duty game reveal since the series has become an annualized franchise. Unfortunately, it sounds like it might not be until August that we finally get the reveal for the next Call of Duty game. Last week, during EA Play 2020, EA announced a brand new Skate game. Unfortunately, this is all they shared. There's currently no word of a release date, platform, title, or even a trailer. This probably means it's in development for PS5 and Xbox Series X as well, though not confirmed. And speaking of EA, it's also been revealed that the next UFC game is under development for the PS4 and Xbox One, but presumably also the PS5 and Xbox Series X. Last week, the UFC Twitter account revealed an official poster for the upcoming Island event, and in the bottom left corner, it mentions that the new UFC game will be revealed during this time. And that's all we have for gaming news this week. Check back next week.
John, of all the things that you covered this week, I got to tell you, I mean, there's some big releases, there's some big news this week, but there's really only one that stood out to me, and that is the announcement from EA that there is going to be a new skate game in the future.
I knew it. I knew that's going to be the one that you called out, because guess who else called it out? Bobby Orlando, who's the one we spoke about Skate with.
I am a huge Skate fan, friend of the show, Bobby Orlando. Also a massive, I'll say a skate mark. I think keep a lookout for me and Bobby's new podcast, the Skate Marks podcast.
Listeners 3.
But
you,
yeah,
Bobby and Bobby Jr.
Yep, that's all I need. Huge fan of the series. Such a weird, innovative. Like there's literally something in it for everybody. It feels like it was the next evolution for like the Tony Hawk series. That's also coming out soon. That release is coming out. So a lot of big things, a lot of exciting gaming news happening, a lot of big things on the horizon. Pretty exciting. But with that, John, I think we should throw it over to the question of the week.
Yes. Finally, the Game Marks podcast has our own pro wrestling tees store. Brace yourself, because the Game Marks podcast is now on ProWrestlingTees.com, featuring multiple designs created by us. Head on over to ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod today to play it forever.
All right, so the question of the week is a weekly segment where we go back and forth and ask each other a question, and then we propose this question to you. Last week, John's question was, if you had to pick between only being able to play the WWE 2K20 game or never having the N64 exist, that was a controversial question you had there, John. It definitely split the audience. I definitely didn't use your exact wording of the question, but the gist is there. And I mean, I feel like lately these questions have been blowing up and we've been getting a lot of response, and I love it because I love to see the interaction between not just our listeners and us, but also our listeners and each other. I think it's great.
Yeah, and we get a lot of, especially this one, we got a lot of responses. I think this was probably the most, I guess, brain-teasing, controversial question we've asked, because people love the N64 and people hate 2K20, so it's literally polar opposites of the spectrum here. But I think most people said, actually, surprisingly, a lot of people said goodbye to the N64 just because they don't want to play 2K20 ever.
I mean, the hottest of hot takes had to be David C. Anderson, with just coming out of the gate saying that the N64 is a garbage console.
Yeah, what?
Ooh,
love the guy.
That is the hottest
come on.
of hot takes.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I don't know. David C. Come on, man.
We'll have to get a snippet of him explaining in greater detail for an upcoming episode.
Next time we wings together after a major wrestling figure podcast show, I'm gonna question the crap out of him.
All right, so this week it is my turn to ask a question, and I'm gonna change it up a little bit. It's not gonna be so much a question as it's going to be a recognition of sorts.
Okay, recognition of the week.
Yeah, so you and I do this podcast, and we are each other's respective player 2. I am your player 2, you are my player 2, and that's how this works. So what I want everyone to do this week...
Wait, hold on.
This will,
I just had a vision of us in those shirts with like the arrow pointing to each other, like he's my player 2.
Oh God! Or we can get like thing 1, thing 2 shirts, and it'll just say player 1, player 2.
Oh boy, yeah, no, okay, go on. Sorry.
That's our 8x10. So what I would like to do, John, the question I'm going to ask you is, of all of the people that you have played games with, and we've had some people on the show, we've had we've spoke about people on the show. Who is your non-podcast player 2, and what is the game that you played the most with them? So,
ooh, okay.
That is...
I feel like every console's been different, to be honest. Like, if we go back to, like, the N64, it was me and Kenny, obviously. Me and Kenny G.
I'll say, who's the most constant?
I can't really answer that, but damn. I'll say this. Go.
Spassoon playing bastard.
Yeah, I mean, me and Kenny met around the time No Mercy came out, so obviously, like, when we would have our little play dates in 8th grade, that's what we would play. Other than that, I mean, moving on to, like, the Xbox, it was my friend Chris, the same guy who used to whoop my ass in PlayStation Warzone. But other than that, going to, like, the 360 and on, I've played with this guy Oz for many years, who I don't know. I don't actually know him. But we've played every Call of Duty together, every Fortnite together, wrestling games, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I guess I got to go with him just for the longevity.
All right. So now the way that I want this to work for everyone else that's hearing this is on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, tag the person that you're playing and then either name the game that you played the most or throw a picture of like the box art in there. Like, let's really see those games and
let's feel some love for your player twos.
So yeah, I don't know. I feel like the reason this popped into my head this week is it just feels like with everything going on in the world that, you know, and we've touched upon it, more people have been playing video games now than ever. And I feel like more people have been playing online video games with their friends more than ever because we can't be together. So I feel like this is just a good time. Get that recognition and, you know, give a shout out to your friends and those titles that you just can't stop playing and you know, think of simpler times when we were younger.
Yeah, I like it. What about you?
All right. So I mean, I'm very similar to you. I have a couple people. Friend of the show. I know he listens. He's been listening since day one. Is my buddy Alex. We've played the Gambit. He was the Kevin Nash to my Scott Hall.
Ooh.
In Revenge, we did World Tour. We did No Mercy. We've played like Diablo and like everything. He was my like the first like player 2 second controller that I ever had in my life. And then over the years, there's been a lot of constants of my buddy Shep and my other friend Josh, who actually is the same guy who said that if we didn't like Saturday Night Slam Master, that he was going to stop listening to the podcast.
And I mean, he was right. So thanks for that.
So yeah, I've got a couple, so I'll be sure to tag them out. Shep's little brother Sean. Yeah, there's a bunch. I've you know, we do this podcast because we've been playing games for most of our lives. So the list is seemingly endless of people.
All right, but are you ready to dive into WWF/WWE Raw, who I played with no one because no one ever wanted to play it?
I cannot wait. This is a new for me.
All right, then let's take the dive. Hey guys, Johnny here. While we love talking about video games and wrestling here on the podcast, we wanted to share with you a new offer from our friends at Stitcher. An enormous amount of shows and bonus episodes are available on Stitcher Premium, such as Office Ladies, Comedy Bang Bang, WTF with Mark Aaron, How Did This Get Made, Bitch Sesh, True Crime Garage, Marvel's Wolverine, and plenty more. Right now you could sign up for Stitcher Premium for only $4.99 a month or $34.99 a year using our code GameMarksPodcast. That's all one word. Head on over to Stitcher.com/premium for this amazing deal and a free month. That's Stitcher.com/premium and use code GameMarksPodcast. That's all one word. Game on, Marks.
All right, so WWF/E Raw released for the Xbox. Now, originally, this was supposed to release as competition for Just Bring It in November of 2001, but it was delayed to February 11th, 2002 for the Xbox, and it was released October 14th, 2002 for the PC. And this was developed by Anchor Inc., published by our best friends of the show and favorites, THQ.
Love to hate them.
And the only thing I can think of, first impressions, is a lot of blinking lights in this game.
Yeah, so you did not own this game, right? You weren't an Xbox guy then.
No, I was not. I still am not an
Which
Xbox guy.
actually surprises me because you're like a big PC guy, and I feel like when Xbox came out by Microsoft at the time, everyone was like, "It's like a computer console. Like we gotta get it." Like all the PC people were like all over it.
My mentality is this: why would I buy a console that's like a PC when I have a PC?
True.
I already had Sony. It was tested and proven to be something that was, for the most part, different than my PC. There were things, titles that were different than my PC. And for the most part, a lot of the stuff that was released on Xbox came out on the PC. So I didn't really see the justification for it.
Okay, that makes sense. I specifically remember this game. I saw not a commercial. I think it was a magazine ad, maybe, saying that it was going to come out with the Xbox. And I was like, oh my God, a wrestling game. This is going to be awesome. And then when I feel like it just sprung up after that, like February came around, it just sprung up, and I had my allowance saved, but I only had enough for half. At the time, Xbox games were $50, and I begged and I pleaded, please go halves with me to my parents, and they said no. They said no, but I got it. They did it anyway.
The best moments in any childhood it was always when you got the wool pulled over your eyes and you're just like, no, we can't get that for you. It's too much. Then like either that weekend or it was like really close to your birthday and you'd be like, oh, I got this game for my birthday. Oh,
yeah. And I grabbed that thing, I unwrapped it, I went through it in my Xbox, and I was like, oh, this is it. Which we will get to more later. I also had the Prima's official strategy guide, which you just played the game with me. There is no strategy to this game. I think all it was just a glorified like kind of roster page. Like it would just go through the wrestlers.
The roster selection felt Attitude Warzone. It felt like one of those.
I would say, judging by like the X Factor music in there and judging by Stone Cold's theme song in there.
Like you're dealing with the X Factor?
Yeah, so like it's not quite the Uncle Cracker theme, it's just like the instrumental weird version of it, but Stone Cold has
That's a name people probably haven't thought of in a long time.
Yeah, Stone Cold has his Alliance theme in there.
Okay,
so
okay.
I don't know if he was in any of it, maybe Just Bring It or anything with that theme song, but this is the only game I could recall with that crappy music. This was also the first game, I believe, where you could import your own soundtrack into the game, but you had to add the crowd noise into the background as well, so you had to like download them from like Napster or LimeWire or wherever, and they did have the ones with the crowd noise already in there. But if you didn't, it would just be a song with no crowd effect while your guy came out. But I definitely remember changing most of the theme songs just to keep them up to date, especially Austin's, because I hated his Alliance song. Anyway, back to the gameplay. The game is similar to, say, like a SmackDown or any like the AKI games where there are weak and strong grapples. But playing these, it was very hard to even execute a grapple to you or like you to me. We would just kind of like throw each other off. Like we didn't want to do it. I found the easiest way was to grapple you and then use the strike button to just do like a bigger strike because that was harder to block. But every move you do does take away from your character's momentum. So on the bottom of the screen, it's a big momentum bar. And rather than each have their own health, and this is way before we had the little body icons showing like where it hurts, so the voltage meter would kind of sway back and forth tug-of-war style of who had the momentum. So you can't both have a finisher at the same time. But
yeah, I was going to say, just to touch on that tug-of-war feature, it took me a really, like we played for probably 10, 15 minutes before you're like, oh yeah, by the way, this bar on the bottom is how you do your finisher. Like, it didn't even cross my mind. I just thought it was like showing the momentum of the match. I didn't think it was something that like,
yeah,
you know,
Mayhem did the same thing, but that was also like a couple years before this on a lesser on PlayStation of all. So you would think this is something they would finish, but also under your wrestler you have a momentum bar that moves with your wrestler. So say you hit those 10 strikes in a row, you're going to be gassed. which is something we still see today. So that part, okay, I'm okay with that because it's like a stamina bar today. But the voltage meter just, I don't know, it just seemed kind of broken. Think back to like No Mercy or Attitude when you would do the same move over and over again and the crowd would start booing. But instead, this takes away your health as you do those moves. And like we saw in the matches against each other, it's very hard to execute moves. So the more I would kick and punch you, my health meter just started going down. But it's literally all I could do.
My original takeaway from this was that the momentum bar on the bottom was your like special bar, and that, you know, you doing moves would build it up and then eventually it would fill, and then that little square on the left under your character was like your meter for when you stored a finisher. And then on top of that, the weapons in this game draw your stamina so quickly.
Yeah.
So fast.
We'll get to the weapons in a little bit, but yeah.
I can't believe how fast some moves drain your stamina, and then how, like you said, you could be doing a series of moves to me and, you know, be building the stamina and your momentum up, and then all I have to do is hit one or two moves and taunt, and the column is fully shifted back and towards me. Like it's wild. The combination of those two things, of them not explaining what the momentum bar under your character is, or I guess the stamina bar under your character and the momentum meter on the bottom of the screen, really throws you for a loop, especially seeing how games on other consoles at the time played.
All right, so I was going to get into these facts now, but as long as we're spitballing with what's wrong with this game and how incomplete it feels, I'm just going to get into them now. So apparently critics got a beta of this game where you could fight in the crowd like Just Bring It, but it was never seen. So Just Bring It became the first game where you could fight in the crowd. So it was also planned to have 10 backstage areas, which were also scrapped, and these went to Raw 2, but not as backstage areas, as the cutscene areas. So when we get to Raw 2, we'll cover that more, but there were a lot of kind of repetitive cutscenes in the story mode of Raw 2, and they all take place either in a locker room, a parking lot, in the hallway, or something, and it's said that those were the backstage areas they created for Raw, and they just put them in. Multiple arenas were also dropped for Raw, so you could only play in the Raw arena. That's it. Raw's War that's it. The title's Raw. You're only playing in Raw. And as we were going through, we saw the match types. There was not many. So we have singles, tag, tornado tag, triple threat, fatal four-way, four-man battle royal, handicap match, and King of the Ring. You could do a King of the Ring singles, tag, triple threat, or fatal four-way. But scrapped was Royal Rumble, a six-man match, and the cage match. So those are all significant matches that are not in this release.
I feel like the multiplayer aspect of having a Royal Rumble is awesome. I mean, look at what we do sometimes on our live stream. We'll hop in, and our warm-up match will be a Royal Rumble so that it's you know, it's just content, but it's fun content, and it gets you familiar, like super familiarized with the game. So to not have that, I feel like is a staple.
If I remember correctly, the Raw 2 Royal Rumble was severely broken to the point where you could enter and literally just get punched and you just fly over the top, hit your head on the apron, and you're out. So even then, they didn't really fix much, but this was the first game to also have breakouts during the entrance, which we see today that I do to you all the time when we play 2K. So while someone's entering, you could run at them and just nail them. Now, the replay system, I think, was kind of cool because I absolutely hate, say, like in the GameCube games or even the newer games, the replay just takes up the whole screen and it ruins your flow. This one is more like TV, where
like a picture-in-picture kind of thing.
So it shows it in the corner, but you still have your gameplay. So that is maybe the one thing that I will commend this game for having. So the last feature that was cut from this game was blood. The original, the first photos and screenshots and kind of demo videos, they had blood featured, but apparently the parents complained about blood in wrestling at the time. So They removed the blood, and all they did was change it to a grayish color and move it to the mat, so now it's sweat.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Well, that was one of the first things I had asked you, because there's certain animations that make it look almost certain like your character is busted open, and I was just like, oh,
the noise, the screen shakes with that like reddish.
Yeah.
But no, instead you sweat a lot.
Every indicator tells you if you've played a wrestling game, like, oh, someone just got busted open, and you're like, no, no, it's not happening. So I have a question. Going through, see something. It's called the museum. Would like you to tell me more about this museum.
So in the museum, it shows all the items you have unlocked, which there are 178 items. You know, that could be like a chair, a broken chair, an announcer's table piece, a tutu, a giant tuna fish, a hat. We saw fork and knives when we played, a leather strap, golf clubs, bazookas. It's endless. It's absolutely endless.
My two personal favorite items, King's Crown, which you can wear, and a WWF scratch logo, which also you can wear.
Yeah, it's one of the weirdest features I've ever seen. So the people 2 weeks ago who said during the question of the week they hated loot boxes, you would have hated this game if you didn't play it. So everything around the ring is pretty much interactive, like the announce table, which ironically have no announcers sitting there, the chairs. So once you get those count as unlocked items. But now you break the chair. The broken chair is now an unlocked item. So now the ring steps, there's an item. So now there's crates around the ring that you have to run through these crates, and there's a random item in the crates. We ran through. We got the king's hat. We got the fork and knife. We got the leather strap. We got...
That's not necessarily...
No, I know. But it's another aspect to the game where, say, is... maybe you and your friend just want to play, and you're like, wait, hold on, I have to run around the ring during this extremely fast 20 count to get back in and run through these boxes real quick.
It makes it more of a collectathon.
It's a big collectathon. But like you said, you could actually wear the items that you pick up. I remember, I think I was Undertaker back in the day, and I found this like ducky pool float, and you just strap it into your waist. It's so stupid.
Amazing.
So stupid.
Amazing. So, we talked about the weapons, the museum, the game modes. What do you say we jump into this roster? I'm looking through this roster, and it's a pretty stacked roster.
All right. Al Snow, Albert, Big Show, Billy Gunn, Bradshaw, Bubba Ray Dudley, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, Christian, Crash Holly, Devon Dudley, Eddie Guerrero, Edge, Farouk, Fred Durst, Funaki, Haku, Hardcore Holly, Ivory, Jeff Hardy, Just Incredible, K-Quick, Kane, Kurt Angle, Lita, Matt Hardy, Molly Holly, Perry Saturn, Raven, Rhino, Rikishi, Shane McMahon, Spike Dudley, Stephanie McMahon, Steve Austin, Steve Blackman, Tajiri, Taka Michinoku, Taz, Test, The Rock, Triple H, Trish Stratus, The Undertaker, Vince McMahon, William Regal, and X-Pac. Sorry, I didn't tag you in.
It's fine.
I was on a roll.
It's fine. You did good. I'm proud of you.
So, notably, Fred Durst is in this game. So
I had to tell you, I could really do without Fred Durst in video games, especially because his finisher is the last ride, and that drives me nuts.
I can't even tell you how many times I actually played as Fred Durst because it was quite often. But he did the same entrance as The Undertaker on the motorcycle. He also had Rollin' as the theme song. Undertaker had Rollin', which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I would say that. I feel like that's a missed... like, you take that for granted.
For a lackluster game, that was pretty cool. But Fred Durst in a wrestling game, do you think they cut some kind of deal like, hey, we need to use your song for this wrestling game? We'll put you in this game.
Sure that was the deal that they struck with... for was he's in Here Comes the Pain or Just Bring It, whatever the first SmackDown series game that he's in. Mm-hmm. That's the deal, like that they struck with either the record label or him personally.
I think it would be Just Bring It, because SmackDown 2 for the PlayStation, Undertaker just had Thorn in Your Eye Raw theme song with the motorcycle.
Yeah, so whoever they struck that deal with, that was the rule, like, or that was the deal, like you can use the song, but his likeness has to be in the game.
I want to say his hat was one of those items that you had to pop off his head and you could put it back on. Now let's talk about the entrances quick, because these were rather promising entrances, but not quite there. Like the music's great. The music sounds good. The crowd sounds good, but when, like you said, a lot of blinking lights, a lot of flashing. They overdid it with the photography in the game. The Rock walks out. He looks like he has a stick up his ass, and he kind of like waddles down to the ring. Everyone just looks very stiff during their entrances. You could tell it's not real like motion capture of like it is today of a person actually walking. It's kind of like those big like high knee steps. I don't know. I had so much promise for this game, and it's just not there.
Now, so does this game? Trying to think of how to phrase this. Does this feel? Did this play how you remembered it? Like did like
Oh,
we
100%.
played this game and you're like, oh yeah, I remember like it being just like this. So I feel like with a lot of the other games that we've played that fall into this, you know, had them as a kid, the nostalgia aspect of it. A lot of the games that we've played, like, oh, I don't remember them being like this, or oh, I forgot you could do this, or oh, this was a feature and I didn't remember. Like, I feel like we said that a lot during Here Comes the Pain. I feel like we said that during the original SmackDown, where just like, oh my god, I forgot you could do this, or oh, I didn't know that you could do this, or oh, you know, I can't believe it's 15, 20 years later and I'm just learning about this feature now. Like, you're saying that this game feels and plays exactly how you remember it.
Yes and no, because I obviously put a lot of time. Being an Xbox guy back in 2002, this was the only wrestling game I had at the time. Obviously, I'm going to play it. Once I have a game, like, I wouldn't go back and play No Mercy probably now at this point. What, it was 2-3 years old. I want the new roster. So obviously I was playing this game. But playing today, I'll be transparent. I played on a keyboard, so it did feel different. The presentation, the moves, I do remember being like, this doesn't feel like a wrestling game. Like, I'm not doing suplexes. I'm not doing like the Rock's signature moves other than like the SmackDown DDT. I don't know. It was just very generic, very basic, very, here's a clothesline that might hit like your guy's shoulder and he's going to go flying. So there was also Create a Superstar in this game.
You making little Johnny Clash when you were a kid?
Yeah, I don't know. I remember it being very generic, but then I remember you could use the items that you unlock during the matches to put on your guy. So obviously, I think my guy was just like Fred Durst's clone. I don't know. It wasn't a very in-depth creator wrestler at all.
Okay. I understand that.
Now, the presentation of the whole game, very muted. Like, the colors aren't bright. Everything just looks kind of smoky. Like, you look at the Titantron looked great. Like, the Raw set looked great, but then behind it, it's just gray.
Smoky's a great way to describe it. Smoky's perfect.
Yeah, like, rather than having it blacked out behind, like, the stage and all that, it was just like a gray. Like, you look up top to the rafters of the horrible paper crowd, and everything's just gray. Now, you're going to put everything into an Xbox release. You're going to make your superstars look pretty damn good. The character models look good. They're not perfect, but they look good compared to like a SmackDown game. So your crowd is pixely, paper, flat. Like, come on. You have the same guy like sitting next to each other in the same like green shirt. You see like the jagged pixel edges around them. Like, you could do better, Xbox.
But yeah, John, I agree with you. Everything did kind of have like this weird smoky effect to it. I thought maybe it was just me, and I was like, maybe I'm just like, all right, maybe this is just how games were, and like I'm forgetting that this is how some of the games were. But no, if I agree, things definitely felt smoky.
Everything was just great. Like Kurt Angle's gear should have been like bright red and blue. It's like muted red and blue. I don't know. Just something about the game just felt weird, and it just didn't look good. Visually, it did not look good when it could have. When all you needed was to up the contrast a little bit.
Yeah. Speaking of visuals, though, John, when you say we jump into this artwork here.
Ooh, yeah. So this was the same. I could envision this artwork in my sleep. Jeff Hardy doing the Swanton Bomb, the Undertaker's face in the flames. I think that's Chris Jericho or Triple H, maybe. I believe Triple H getting chokeslammed by Kane. Now, Kane's not even in that gear in the game. If you look on the back, Kane's getting tossed out of the ring, and he's wearing his newer gear from that time.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm seeing two different versions of this cover. There's one where it's got like the scaffold, kind of like Titantron-esque, where it's like it's like the metal bars. And then there's the one which feels more like of a more modern take, where it's like the riveted,
yes,
with the like the italicized font. Which is the right one? Or are there two?
Okay, so there's two. If you look at the one you're talking about that looks more like the old school Raw logo, that has the WWF logo. That was the original release. Okay. So that's how it came out. So in May of 2002, WWF changed to WWE. So that wasn't long after this game came out. Maybe it was like 3 months. So then they had to start releasing it with the WWE logo, and I guess that's when they changed to the newer Raw logo there. Yeah, so they changed the logo, but I don't recall if they actually changed all the WWF logos in the game. I don't think that's something that they would do. I'm noticing the back of the WWE cover art, where it does show WWE.com, not WWF.com. So maybe they did, or they just photoshopped it for the back of the game.
I'm sure some of these are like running changes where, like, you know, you can only pull so much, and then once stuff's sold, you just kind of stuck as it is. So I'm sure. Ooh, this is an idea. I wonder if the WWF versions are rarer or more expensive, or like.
Well, I got this at release, so I definitely had it as WWF. So I don't think I have it anymore. I believe when the 360 came out, I wiped out my whole collection because half of them weren't backwards compatible anyway, and I guess what I bought? Skate.
All right, so on the back, you know, standard fare as to what you would expect. John already talked about how it says the WWE on the back. It says get Raw on Xbox, and there's 5 screenshots. It says bone-shattering finishing moves, authentic superstar entrances, play as top superstars, assault opponents on the way to the ring, and compete in a variety of match types.
Very misleading, huh?
Standard. Yeah.
Not really many match types.
Standard fare for what you would expect for the back cover of a video game to look like.
Can we talk about the middle screenshot? That is Spike Dudley throwing Kane off the top rope.
I mean, yeah, I believe it. I buy it.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
That happens.
It happens.
I remember that. It was on the SmackDown in 2002 in July. So, what do you say, John? We jump into some fast facts.
All right. During development, the game was originally called WWF Raw is War, but the title was changed after WWF shortened the TV show title in October of 2001 due to the September 11th attack and end of the Monday Night Wars.
WWF Raw was the last WWE game released on PC until the release of 2K15, 13 years later.
In Japan, a limited edition was released with a shirt and a figure of The Undertaker or Hollywood Hulk Hogan, who does not appear in the game.
Now, John, I believe you have some exciting news in regards to that last fast fact.
So while researching this game for the podcast this week, I came across the fact that there was this Japanese limited edition, and I Googled it. I couldn't find much, but then I put it in eBay after searching for quite a bit, and I found one. It was like $125. The figure was open, but at least I got to see the back of the figure. It had like Japanese writing on it. It said something about a game, and it was numbered. So that was pretty damn cool. So $125. I was thinking about it. I put it on my watch list, but I didn't do it. So now I search for another one, and I find it for $45. With the catch that it had $25 shipping. So now I'm putting 2 and 2 together. I'm like, I could buy this for way cheaper than the other one. And the figure's sealed. The t-shirt is sealed. So, ladies and gentlemen, coming to my house in 2 days, which is exceptionally fast, especially during a pandemic, I will have the limited edition Japanese version of WWE Raw for Xbox with a limited edition Undertaker American Badass figure, sealed, and I believe the shirt, I can't find an exact picture of what the shirt looks like, but it looks like The Rock, and it just says, "Do you smell what The Rock is cooking?" But I don't know if I'm going to open any of this, but the package itself is open, so when this arrives, I will be able to do an unboxing video, and I'll make the spur-of-the-moment decision if I'm going to open this stuff or not.
Now, what do you get to control? Probably not, but is it like a one size or?
Yeah, that I don't know. I'm assuming it's just a one size.
I was going to say, because that's like a difficult decision, I feel like, for a publisher to make. Like, all right, we're just going to ship a large shirt with every game.
Hey, I mean, but actually, I sent it to Brian Myers, and he never saw it before, because I wanted to know about the Hogan figure. Because Hogan was not in this game. This was kind of, like I said, around the time that the Alliance broke up, so Hogan came a little bit after. And that figure, I couldn't find it. I put it in the Major Wrestling Figure Pod Patreon group, and lo and behold, someone said, "Hey, my friend has the Hogan figure." It's literally just Hogan with an NWO shirt and black jeans. But it looked, it's similar to like what the Undertaker one.
Very interesting. I like this whole. Maybe we'll do an episode on like rare and unique special editions, and we'll just like we'll do like a bonus episode of that, because I feel like there's more than you think, and I feel like a lot of the cool like extras that may not be like super uncovered now. Like I didn't even know that this Taker / Hogan bundle existed. Like this when you said that you bought it and you sent me the listing, I was like, this is nuts.
Yeah, and if I didn't research this game, which it's literally right there in front of your face if you look at any website that shares about WWF, WWE Raw, but I don't know. I had to see it for myself because I'm like, I don't remember this existing, but obviously it's Japanese. I wouldn't remember it existing. But however, It'll be in my possession by the time that this episode comes out.
Very exciting. You'd love to see it. I can't wait to get back into the hunt. I have paused due to the pandemic going on. I have paused my collection, which is probably very dumb because now is probably the best time to buy it. Just because everyone's probably trying to sell stuff, but I will resume once the world goes back to normal. But, John, I think it's time. Feeling like we ran around a lot today. I think it's time for a little R&R, John.
Ooh, okay. It's been a while.
I know. Let's do some ratings and reviews.
All right, so first of all, most of these publications only rated the Xbox version, and if they rated the PC version, I'll call it out. So All Game with 2.5 stars, EGM with a 6 out of 10, Famitsu with a 10 out of 40, Game Informer with a 6.5 out of 10, Game Pro with a 3.5 out of 5 stars, Game Revolution with a C. Now, GameSpot rated the PC version a 5.7 out of 10, and the Xbox a 6.5 out of 10. GameSpy with an 85%. Ooh, that's interesting. Game Zone with a 6 out of 10 on PC, 7.8 out of 10 on the Xbox. Here we go. We found the culprit. IGN with a 9.1 out of 10. OXM with a 5.7 out of 10. PC Gamer with the PC version, obviously, a 73%. And our favorite, Metacritic with a 54 out of 100 for the PC and 68 out of 100 for the Xbox.
I immediately wish that we didn't have this segment this week, just because we had such a good couple of weeks without a
negativity
7.8 or a 9.1. Just
I mean, they're
7.8. Give it. No, it's annoying.
They're as close to accurate as possible. Okay, so think about Game Zone, 7.8 out of 10. Would you rather see a 7 out of 10, or would you rather see an 8 out of 10? Either are way off from what it is. It's a 7.8.
No, it's too specific. Give it a half.
IGN,
if it's
9.1 out of 10, what if
just give it a 9?
Okay,
what's
but it's
the
a 9.1. It's obviously factored into how many people voted for it or rated it.
Oh, I hate it.
Let's
so
go,
annoying.
Right, let's go back.
Understand it. I understand the necessity of it, but it's annoying. It always has been annoying to me.
All right, but these are all very mediocre scores, but then GameSpy with an 85 and IGN with a 9.1. Like, come on.
Who
sticking out like a sore thumb. Listen, it's safe to say that this game was pushed back for a reason from November to February. It's safe to say that it is incomplete, and they just put out whatever features they could and they eliminated all the fun stuff because it wasn't ready. I think they could have waited even longer, like we just saw with 2K20. They could have waited even longer, but they rushed to get a game out for Xbox. Now, with saying that, Raw 2 comes out the next year. Still an unfinished, terrible game. I wish I could say this game gets better, but it doesn't. All they do is add backstage areas. They add more wrestlers. They add more arenas. They add a story mode. We didn't even mention, Raw doesn't have a story or a career mode. It's literally like a title tower where you just compete to win the belts.
Yeah. Jeez. I can't. It was such like a not important detail in this game. Like they made it such a non-factor that it didn't even cross my mind. Like it's just so often or so obviously not like a story mode game. It's just like a weird beat 'em up kind of like it almost forces you to do like the beat 'em up style.
Yeah, absolutely. But I wish Raw 2 I could say was a better game. They tried, but yeah, no, I'm sorry. When we get there, we'll talk about it. Maybe it holds up a little differently than I remember, but I remember being just as disappointed with that one, thinking they would fix what they didn't fix in Raw. But again, disappointment. All right, but anyway, George, I'm actually getting a little hungry. It's looking like it's. Do you happen to have the time? I think I was supposed to meet someone around.
Oh, you're looking for the time, John? Yeah. I think it's time to rate the game.
The game!
All right, Georgie.
All right.
The burning question of the week. WWF/E Raw. Would you play it forever?
Woo!
Or future endeavor?
You're fired!
Keep it short and sweet this week again. Not a lot of substance, not even a lot of sizzle in this game. Didn't really check the boxes for me. So I will be future endeavoring this game.
You're fired!
Johnny Clash, this game, WWF/E Raw. For the Xbox, will you play it forever or future endeavor?
So I really wanted to play it forever for nostalgia reasons, but then again, I took off the goggles. And yeah, there's a reason why I stopped playing this game back then, and there's a reason why I haven't really thought of it ever since. And I don't see myself ever going back to play it again. And even though I bought that awesome Japanese set, I don't own an Xbox, and I will never play the game that is in the set, but it has a cool figure and a cool t-shirt, and it's a cool limited edition. I'm still saying future endeavor.
You're fired!
All right.
So that's a double get the hell out of here WWF Raw.
All right, and we also were able to do our weekly tournament this week, John, called Clash at the Feast. What do you say we hop into that?
All right, let's talk about it.
What's up, Game Marks Podcast? This is Danny Tancredi, and I'm here with my brother Johnny Tancredi, and together we are the Cult Looking Podcast. Each week we bring to you the latest news and reviews on all things baseball collectibles. From baseball cards and memorabilia to bobbleheads and stadium giveaways, each episode will discuss the newest products to hit the shelves of your local card store and your favorite ballparks around the country. Be sure to be following us on Instagram at the Cult Looking Podcast and on Twitter at CultLookingBB. New episodes drop every Friday, so be sure to tune in wherever great podcasts like this one are available. The Cult Looking Podcast. Don't get caught looking, start collecting.
So let's set the stage here. You were The Rock, I was Kane. Our first match of just kind of feeling things out, trying to figure out how to play the game, we didn't realize there was a time limit, and we hit the 30-minute time limit of just going back and forth. I think you were the first one to hit a finisher. I never hit a finisher other than a choke slam. It was weird.
Which was beautiful.
It was weird.
A beautiful choke slam.
So we rematched, same characters, and this one we chose no time limit. We chose a hardcore match so we could explore, check out the figures and all that. And as much as it pains me to say, but I didn't really care because it's this game, George. You were the winner this week.
I mean,
I think if I won,
really
I would have
would've
given it
liked to
back. I would have been like, nope, you could have it.
I feel like I would have liked to see what would have happened in that other match that ended, because that was back and forth to no end, and then we were well versed in the follow up, I guess, continuation of the second match. So yeah, I kind of stole this one from you this week, but
It's okay.
man, it's been a while since I've been able to say this. John, play my music. All right, so we kind of flipped the Clash of the Feast and the game rating a little bit there this week, but I think it is time for us to put a bow on this episode. Johnny, what do you say to that?
I think it's time to take it home, but let us know what we're playing next week.
All right, so next week on the podcast, we are playing All Japan Pro Wrestling for the Super Nintendo / Super Famicom.
All right, an All Japan game. I'm in for it. I'm don't know what I'm saying here.
Johnny Fire Pro, it's your new thing.
Johnny Fire Pro. All right, but I'm all in for All Japan next week.
All right. Well, that's going to do us for this week on the Game Marks Podcast. Please check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store at prowrestlingtees.com/GameMarksPod. It is currently the best way besides listening to support the podcast. And be sure to follow us on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. Leave us a review and a rating on Apple Podcasts and subscribe to wherever you choose to listen to your podcast. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us again this week. Hope you enjoyed this episode and stay safe. Johnny boy, it is time to say goodbye.
Game over!
Marks!
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the Clash at the Feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.